point is actually, if information reaches you and you're a European, what do you think? If information reaches you and you're Japanese, what do you think? I think the difference between Europeans and Japanese is the Europeans' first instinct will be, is that really so? And the Japanese instinct will be, who is telling me this? Is this my senpai or is that my kohai? If it's my senpai, he's much more willing to accept what is told to him without analysis, without judgment, but basically say, oh, thank you very much for sharing your ideas with me. I feel grateful for that. As follows. So, in Europe, find the truth in yourself. In Japan, follow your parents and your seniors. That's my proposal.
Yeah, but I try to make sure, find the truth in yourself.
Right. That means that don't take anything at face value. Analyze it and see if it fits with the rest of your ideas. That's like mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive.
Japan, they don't do that?
No, I don't
find
think
the truth.
Because I believe that in Japan there can exist parallel truths. If you want to think it even in a bigger way, I believe that Westerners have more of a two-dimensional thinking, and Japanese have more of a three-dimensional thinking.
Three-dimensional means complicated?
Complicated. And not necessarily, it depends on where you stand, against which axis you are viewing the reality. Basically, if it's two-dimensional, then if you have an x-axis and a y-axis, and you have a point here, it's like it doesn't make any difference where you stand, right? So whether you're right in front of the board from the left or from the right side doesn't make any difference. But once it becomes three-dimensional, that point can actually completely change. That means that it depends on your position to see what the reality is. So in Japan, they accept the fact that maybe not everything is black and white. I believe that we have a tendency in Europe to want to make things simple and to abstract in order to be able to put everything in a bigger framework. That is, simplification is the first step into understanding. That's what we feel, right? So we have a tendency, if we are talking about something, to make it simple. Whereas what Kimura-san said before, in Japan there is a tendency to actually then start to dig into more depth. So when Europeans and Japanese people meet together, they are talking about this, but while the process goes on, the Europeans will go this way and the Japanese will go this way. Put judgment on things. They observe and they look further and say, oh, okay, well, if that is the case, let's look a little bit more into what that means and how this element relates to other things. So they usually, in terms of negotiation, they don't follow a critical, like a clear path going from A to Z. Like if you, typically a German negotiator makes an agenda, says, okay, we need to agree on these 10 points. By the time we agree on point 10, we reached an agreement, basically. That's part of the deal. Whereas in Japan, people will be more inclined to say, okay, and then go to point 1, and then, hey, but wait a minute, how does that relate to point 9? And then they will go back between 1 and 9, and the German will get very impatient, saying, well, I mean, this is not the time to discuss point 9. Point 2 is at the agenda. Let's stick to point 2. And they will get very frustrated. Yes, complex thinking cycle or non-linear thinking cycle versus non-linear thinking patterns versus linear thinking patterns. Yeah, I saw your eyes are going like it.
You know, you just say, this is different what you say. This is different what you say. Follow? No, I don't agree. Follow my parents,
Yes.
my seniors.
Yes.
No, I don't think so. But Japanese is different from Europe, right? Thinking approach different. Not different.
Yeah, well, actually, I think it's critical thinking, Uno-san. Sorry, but if you think that Japanese people think critical, then I am in strong disagreement.
Okay, I agree. But how do you express Japanese thinking?
Okay, so this from my standpoint, I think that most Japanese people derive.
Which I concern is find the truth in yourself is my concern. Is this critical thinking? But we need more clear point to express what Europe. This is the Japanese people against this opinion. Okay, if I'm going to write down find truth in yourself, Japanese are not, but they are against this sentence.
Shogunai, but it's the truth.
Shogunai, not shogunai. Just you need to think it.
No, I mean we cannot sugarcoat it. We need to make the point clear. If they don't agree, then but I think that okay, we want to make it more yasashi.
Give you more sugar high. Better solution.
So they might be against it, but I really feel that this is a point.
I tell you, not sufficient. Must think more clearly. Clear message for Japanese.
We're just talking about the gaps, right? We're not talking about the message yet. We're just talking about the gaps.
But do they agree? Okay, they agree. But this one is not there.
It's very good. If they don't agree, that they are actually doing critical thinking.
First line is maybe I can persuade them to agree. Second line is follow your parents and your seniors. I don't think so. They don't.
Uno-san, this culture is 100% about followers and about leaders and about senpai kohai. How can they not agree with this? This is 100% obvious for the foreigners.
Sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
You follow
I read it. I tell you. I don't live in Japanese society, so I don't understand. But are you sure?
Well, from my point of view,
Do they agree? Or this I don't know.
I have a very strong opinion about this, but that is I look at it from the outside.
Korean people follow your parent, yes, 100. Chinese people say follow your parent, yes. For Japanese, no, they don't.
Okay, but maybe instead of your
This is
parents, you
confusion.
follow your boss,
Confusion.
right?
Your seniors. Maybe Japanese cannot decide by yourself. Do you need to listen to your seniors? Or
Right.
Maybe yes. Parents? No. Korean people, Chinese people, they should say yes. For Japanese, they no. They never listen to parents. Seniors and followers.
But actually, Uno-san, like if I look at the even kids in Europe versus kids in Japan, it's so different. I mean, in Japan, it's actually very common for mothers and daughters to go to a restaurant together, to be like almost like friends and go travel together. And in Europe, are you kidding me? By the time they are 13, they don't want to be seen with their parents anymore. They are not on the same page. They are trying to, and this is the process of becoming independent, of wanting to think by themselves, or becoming an adult.
Okay, I experienced a Chinese family, a Japanese family. The Japanese people listen to the teacher's opinion and follow on the instruction, follow on the rule. But Chinese never keep their rule. Never listen to the teacher's opinion. Never listen to the parents of
Chinese?
Chinese.
They don't listen?
No. Korean, they don't listen. Japanese is follow on the rule, listen to teachers, listen to parents. But Chinese, Korean never listen to the parents, never listen to the follow on the rule.
So instead of parents and seniors, should we write rule here? Follow the rules?
So just skeptical, follow your parents? I don't think so. Don't follow. They just not educated like that. Japanese follow. You're right. Japanese follow your parents.
Right.
Chinese, they don't follow the parents.
Hmm. They don't follow their parents. Actually, the Chinese people that I know,